Hey guys, it's Backmarker, and today we are going to review our Assetto Corsa version 1.0 release candidate. Well, this is interesting. It's not exactly something I expected, and it's not exactly something I'm impressed by, to say the least. We'll start real quick with the most notable thing to any video game, and that is graphics, because graphically Assetto Corsa is freaking outstanding right now. I could literally watch the replays I recorded for days. I literally do races just to watch the replays right now. I've done a few races and I have watched the replay, or at least what I can watch of the replay. For some reason it only seems to save the last 2 laps of my 10-lap race, but I've watched every single one after every single race because they are just that gorgeous to me. On my computer, my setup, it is so pretty that I haven't even changed my graphics settings from the previous build, so I'm sure if I started to really fiddle around with them and all that, I could get it looking outstanding. But I'm a little worried to change the graphics settings because I don't want to mess with the purity that I am receiving through my monitors right now, because it is just freaking gorgeous. That said, Assetto Corsa really needs a day-night cycle. I understand that it has one, essentially that it's from early day to late day, but there's no night. What the heck? You release this without a night. That seems a little cheeky. And you'll notice a common theme throughout this video is that everything seems a little half-polished and cheeky and released very quickly. So after graphics, I wanted to talk about the physics. It received a bit of a physics update, and I'm not sure how big it was, or if it's just the fact that the cars feel new to me. But the physics are surprisingly good. I've actually been impressed by the physics now, however, only in the GT cars, than I was before. The GT cars really feel very game stock car-y to me right now. Slides are catchable, and you can really feel the car dig into ruts. If you go off on a curb and there's some draining irrigation systems off the edge of the curb, you'll feel the tire really hook into those and wiggle the rear end and wiggle the front end, and really you'll have to fight the car to get out of it. And that's very reminiscent of Game Stock Car and Live for Speed, which I found really Game Stock Car and F1, the F1 series in general, which I found really awesome. I really enjoy the new GT physics. However, the street cars still feel very boaty to me, and they're just really, they feel heavy, and I don't really know how else to explain it other than it's just heavy. Everything feels heavy. You go over a curb and it slams itself back down without really any bounce. Everything just feels like a cargo ship cargo container ship, and I don't know what it is, but it's weird to me, and I don't like it. But the GT cars are fantastic, and I very much enjoy those. Next is sound. The interior sounds and the exterior sounds have been updated this update, as they are apparently the final F-mod sounds, and the exterior sounds are very well improved. It's a big step forward for Assetto Corsa's exterior sounds. However, interior, still abysmal as always. They are incredibly digital, incredibly fake, and just horrendously muddy and gross sounding on the interior. I think the reason Assetto's interior sounds suffer is because they're trying to fake an effect of the driver being inside of a helmet. And that's just not an effect you want to try to portray through a video game sound system, because it just doesn't work. It actually breaks more immersion than it adds it, because you're not wearing a helmet, and to hear the muffled sounds of a helmet just make it sound bad. So, unless you're going to actually force the players to wear a helmet, you shouldn't really muffle your sounds as if they were wearing a helmet. If that doesn't make sense, I don't know how else to explain it, but Assetto Corsa, please remove the simulated helmet wearing sounds, because it makes your interior sounds terrible. Your exterior sounds very good, well improved, just fantastic. Here's a bit of a clip from the Ferrari GT2 that I really found pretty cool. Alright, next, the controls. And I know this is a weird thing to touch on, but the controls, I feel like there's a little bit of steering lag inside of Assetto Corsa. I've always felt it, but I wanted to comment on it this time because for some reason my wheel actually has a bit of a longer lag than in something like GameStop Car. Why do I keep saying car? GameStop Car or iRacing. So yeah, Assetto Corsa, maybe it's just me, but there is a bit of a steering lag. It doesn't really throw you off too much. It's something you get used to very quickly, but do put that into the back of your head when you're driving, that there might be a bit of a steering lag that you're going to have to figure out throughout your driving. The next thing I want to talk about in controls is the force feedback, because it's still massive crap, and it's been massive crap since basically the beginning. Now, it's been well known that it's been massive crap unless you're part of the fanboys, which then it's perfect and everything's perfect and why change anything. But it's been massively crap since roughly day one, and nothing has changed all the way to the release candidate. And this is one of the reasons the cars have felt so boaty, is because the force feedback is just so terrible, and it hasn't actually gotten any better. So in order to have any fun in Assetto Corsa currently, you're gonna have to make do and get used to the really, really crap force feedback that it has to offer. It's unfortunate, but is it worth it? I don't know. That's something for you to decide based on hopefully the information provided in this review. For me, I think it actually was. For someone else, it might not be, especially if you're newer to sim racing. It's going to be a really, really steep learning curve, and if you pick it up easily, it's going to be really hard to go to other sims that have real force feedback. So a bit of a toss-up there, but the force feedback is terrible right now. Next, I want to touch on the vehicles. The new vehicles are the Ferrari GT2. What the utter f***? That is not cool. Do not do that again. Take back your GT2, redo it, and give me a GT3, because this is not acceptable. You have almost a full field of iconic GT3 cars. You have the SLS AMG, which just came out, the excuse me, the McLaren GT3, the BMW GT3, and you choose to make one of the most iconic GT3 cars, one of the sexiest GT3 cars, a GT2 or a GTE. You've got to be kidding me. Take it back, make it a GT3, and pretend like that GT2 never happened, because that is utterly unacceptable and needs to be fixed. Next, we have the LaFerrari, which was pretty meh. It was alright. It was pretty cool. It's freaking hella fast, but other than that, just really understeery, not much wheel spin. It's pretty underwhelming, actually. It's a good testament to Ferrari engineering, but it's not really fun to drive for an extended period of time. Next we have the little Alpha that was released. I put this car around the hill climb track because it was the street car, and I figured it would do best around the slow-paced hill climb track. It feels like a street car, front-wheel drive street car. Feels very similar to the Fiat, and yeah, I mean it's all right. It feels like a pretty decent street car. It's kind of fun. And finally, the SLS AMG GT3. It's heavy. It feels heavy. It's a SLS AMG GT3. Hard on the power, bad to turn in, everything else, yada yada yada. It does bring the GT3 field up another car, which is always good in my book, because I would prefer to have a modern series all fleshed out and ready to race, rather than GT2, which is just silly. So the SLS, it was pretty good. I think it actually got on the power better than a lot of the other cars, because I was making a lot of passes on the power rather than turn in and middle of the corner, because it just understeers like a pig. So that's that for the SLS AMG. And finally, the tracks. The tracks this update were Spa and a hill climb track. Spa is gorgeous. Kunos really did Spa justice with this update. It looks fantastic. The rubbered in line has such high resolution textures. Everything is just so high res, and the reflective surfaces are awesome, and everything looks really, really good. So Kunos did a fantastic job bringing Spa to life in their simulation. Now, only if they had a day-night cycle would Spa really, really, really feel alive. And then the other one was a hill climb track, which is very mediocre, and not much to say about it. It's a boring hill climb track, which I never thought I'd say in my life, but it's very narrow, not much room for mistakes. You can't really get the rear end out. It's pretty lame, if you ask me. And finally, my my second and third most hated things about this new build. The first being it's a GT2 Ferrari, which is ridiculous. The second being, what a half-assed piece of damage model. You can go flying into back of cars and not get a single bit of damage, but the second an AI gives you a bit of a bump going into a turn, oh my god, take off that rear, oh, it's just destroyed. You have no chance at finishing this race because your suspension's screwed, your engine's blown, your bumper is gone, half of the back of your car is just missing. It's, oh, the horror. But you go flying into a Ferrari and at 120 miles an hour right into the back of him, you don't really get anything. And he doesn't really get anything either. The damage model is such a piece of shit, and the dialogue box that comes up every time you lock a tire or get a little bit of damage is so annoying. I hope it's toggleable, because it's so bad. It just comes up at random times anytime you lock up a wheel, which is just so annoying and really pulls you out of the immersion. And the next thing is AI. Another really half-baked feature for a feature-complete game. Really feels like they rushed the release in order to, I guess, get their DLC out sooner. But yeah, the AI is just bad as always. Half the time, the AI doesn't even know how to race. Like, it's just completely broken at Spa, making Spa unraceable with the AI, which is good. The newest track is not even working with AI, so that's good. I'm glad you guys tested that, didn't you? Because if you tested it, you would have known the AI doesn't work on Spa, and that is a little hard to miss if you ask me. So it looks like your QA testing department needs a little kick in the rear. But the AI is just terrible. I mean, it stops going up a flat out corner at Spa around Eau Rouge or Eau Rouge or however you pronounce it. They just stop. They hit the brakes. They go too wide and they don't know what to do. And then they don't know where the brake is if you brake early or something. If you have to, get on the brakes down a straightaway because the AI ahead of you just decided to wreck themselves, if you have to slow down, they'll just plow into the rear of you without even making an effort to stop or counter or steer away from you. It's abysmal. It's railroaded AI that if they're off their railroad, they don't know what to do. They just brake and they stop. And hell, after turn 1, sometimes their car even turns off. So, fix your AI, fix your interior sounds, rebake that GT2 until it becomes a GT3, and take away that stupid damage model. Because if you're gonna half-ass the damage model and just paint a damage texture over the car no matter how much damage there is, it literally looks like if force equals 1, then apply damage.png. There's no... you either take damage in the front, sides, or rear. Anywhere else, it doesn't know what to do, so it just assigns it somewhere else. So if you take damage in the front, it'll put damage.png on your front bumper, and then you'll have damage. And it's all rigid body as well. There's no actual car deformation. It is literally a picture wrapped over your front bumper that looks like dents and scratches that don't even match up with the content or contact you had. So at least iRacing has some semblance of soft body physics and where you hit the car is where it actually crumbles. Assetto Corsa, they just, if you hit it on the front bumper, you get damage there. You hit it on the side bumpers, you get it there. If you hit it on the rear bumper, you get it there. If you hit it on, somewhat of the rear quarter panel, no, your whole back bumper is damaged. So it's a half-assed, half-baked feature, like a lot of the things in this release candidate. So it's a big sidestep for Assetto Corsa. A lot of things were a step forward and a lot of things were a step back. So Assetto Corsa with the release candidate did not actually step anywhere. It took a sidestep. It did a few things right, it did a few things wrong, it's still in the same place it was before the release candidate. So my final verdict is if you have Assetto right now, you'll probably enjoy the release candidate. If you don't have Assetto now, but you've seen videos in the past, not much has changed. So if you were on the fence before, you're going to want to stay on the fence. And so overall, I would give it a solid 8 out of 10 if you're looking for a number rating, a good 80% on my books. However, if you're looking for a racing sim, go find Game Stock Car first, try that out. If you like it, go mess around with the free version of Live for Speed. If you like that, go ahead and buy Assetto Corsa. If you like Game Stock Car and you really want to just jump to Assetto Corsa right away, wait for it to go on sale or something. Right now, it is very good as long as you realize that a lot of it is half-baked. And hopefully that will fix. Probably not, but we'll have to wait and see. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.